what you live and experience is entirely a product of where your attention goes. People think that business is made up of dollars and cents in the bank. It is made up of transactions that begin with an acknowledgement of people keeping their word. The value is based on whether the experience was pleasurable or painful, and it creates a mental model of the experience. You just take it on to every object in your life. That's what the Zen monks do. They don't go to a special laboratory. The whole world is their laboratory. Everything teaches you to be present.
This is the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm the managing partner at Epiphany Business Consulting and your host for today. I am so delighted to have you in the studio. Thank you for being here. Don't forget to like, subscribe, hit the bell so you can be notified every time we drop a new episode. Now let's get it started. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. My name is Rick Meekins. I'm going to be your host today. And in our studio, we have Dr. Ravi Iyer. How are you, sir?
Hi, Rick. It's great to be here. How are you? How's the day been going for you?
Nobody ever asks me how I'm doing. I'm doing fantastic. I had a great day today, busy and all that good stuff. And this is actually my favorite part of the day. So thank you for asking.
All right.
Fantastic. Folks, if you haven't done it yet, I would love it if you would like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you get updates every time we drop a new episode. And so without further ado, let's get into it. So Ravi, would you do us a favor? Give us a little bit of your background, who you are, what you do, and why you do what you do.
So I'm a physician, and I grew up in India. I was born in Mumbai, brought up in Eastern India in a city called Jamshedpur, steel town, very much like Pittsburgh. I grew up there and finished my medical degree from the local state medical college in Patna, and then did a career switch. I moved from medicine into molecules. I did a basic research for a good decade. I was basically studying what allowed people to fight infections and how did the body deal with inflammation and so on and so forth. And that work took me to All India Institute, and from there I moved to Harvard as a postdoctoral fellow, where I stayed there for a good 5 years or so. And in that process, Harvard sponsored me for my green card under that that exceptional category that they have here, some EB1 or something. So the idea was that I would be a professor there, but as fate would have it, I got an award, a Young Investigator Award that brought me to DC. And in that award ceremony, I bumped into the chairman of the Department of Medicine at George Washington. And we got to talking. And out of the blue, he offered me a position to do my residency because he asked me what I wanted to do. And I said, I want to do research and I want to see patients. He said, well, to see patients in this country, you're going to have to do a residency. So when are you going to do it? I said, I haven't thought about it. I said, well, He said, we have an opening now. You want to take it? And it just happened like that. I just shook hands and then I started. Most people go through a lot of hoops and hurdles to get into a residency program. This one just fell into my lap and I took it. I started doing the residency, finished the residency. And then when I left Harvard to come to GW, my boss said, go do your residency, then give me a call. If you want to come back, we'll keep it open for you. So when I finished my residency, I called him and said, hey, what's the plan now? How does it look? And he said, it looks horrible because we are losing grants right now. That was the time of the first Gulf War, and all the NIH grants were being cut because of the war. And he said, it's a horrible time to get back into research. You stay where you are. So I said, okay, I'll start doing private practice. And I opened a small clinic in Reston, and it just grew from there. I finally looped around. I started doing clinical research as well as doing community medicine, rose up in the hospital, became a chairman of the department, and then became a director of a hospice organization. Things kind of just moved from there. So the dominant thing for me all my life has been the question, how does life work? And that was coming out right up from a childhood. I was curious about life. And as a result, I kept pursuing the question, how do birds work? How do earthworms and cockroaches and insects and birds and fish and salamanders and frogs, how do they work? And that took me into biology and then into medicine. And then once I got sufficiently skilled in the body of knowledge of how life works, the corollary question started emerging: how do you make life work when it doesn't work? And that took me from there. It was just this question: how does life work? And that's what drove me from medicine to research, and then from research back to medicine. Most people, when they switch, they are not happy. They'll switch because they are not happy. For me, I was perfectly happy doing medicine or doing research, because the question was not about medicine or research. The question was how to find the answers to the question: how do you make life work, and how do you make life work when it doesn't, through every possible way that my mind could pursue. So I pursued it through biology, then medicine, then research, and from research went back into medicine, and then from medicine went into organizational stuff, where at that time, when I was chairman of the department, it was a question of how do you make the department work? How does the department work, and how do you make it work when it doesn't? And I started understanding how people think and how people make decisions and what drives their commitments as well as their breakdowns and breakthroughs. And then when I became a hospice medical director, the question completely flipped, because here was a situation where life was breaking down. You are having a person who is at the end of life, whose body is breaking down. So there's nothing there to fix. So the question was, how do you make life work when it doesn't? Took on a very, very different flavor. It was the ultimate question of life. And I suddenly realized that the work that I needed to do was to enable people to shift their identity from an identity of their body to an identity of their consciousness and self, so that they can experience themselves as whole and intact and complete, even though the body that contained their self was breaking down. And in this way, they could face the end of their times. They could face the dissolution of their body into the elements of the universe without fear. And that was the medicine I could give to a dying person, that you can face death without fear, at peace, in completion, when you know that the inevitability of your end is coming, but you don't need to fear it. You don't, because who you are remains whole and complete. So in that sense, this path of mine has taken me from something very simple like a frog to something very profound like the being of a human being. And it has taught me the entire gamut of what a healer really is. A healer is far more than a seller of herbs and medicine. A healer is someone who can walk into a room and create a space where everyone feels empowered, where everyone experiences an expansion of their possibility. And incidentally, that is exactly what a leader should be.
Wow. That's beautiful. That's really beautiful. You said one thing I want to just go back to really quickly. You said when life doesn't work. What do you mean by that?
So life has a certain mechanism, right? You take an animal, it has a body part, all the parts work in synchrony, in harmony. They work like the way they were intended to, they were constructed for. And then something happens that makes them no longer work as they were originally intended. So the question, therefore, for me, coming to that animal from an outside agency is, how did you work when you were working, and what went wrong, and how can I help you restore functionality to where you were originally intended and designed for? That's all there is.
So is it so what I got from you is we have the human, the physical part of us, and then we have the spiritual part of us. And we talked about it. You talked about it from the perspective. So when you talk specifically about hospice, you gave me the impression that you were talking about the idea that their soul or their spirit would go on even though their body would stop working. And then
I make it more simpler than that.
Okay.
Because the minute you start saying spirit and soul, you have to pay attention to what those words mean for you.
Okay.
Because what those words mean for the most of the people is soul. They immediately have an image of some nebulous, otherworldly thing, some vapor, something like a cloud. That that idea of soul or spirit has no power to really shift your being. It is in the realm of a superstitious belief. It is like you believing in Santa Claus and tooth fairy. The idea that most people have of soul and spirit is in exactly the same category as the idea that most people have of Santa Claus and tooth fairy.
Okay. Fair
A
enough.
belief. They don't have it as an experience. See, right now, reach forward and hold that mic. Now, you experience that mic.
Right.
You can, you are holding it. You are able to grasp it. It has solidity. You are able to feel the pressure on your sense receptors of your skin.
Mm-hmm.
If you go close enough, you can see the colors and the way, the texture of the fuzzy part, and then the shiny holder below it, and then the whole, the framework of the handle that holds it to the pedestal, and so on and so forth.
Right.
It has reality. It is not a belief. You don't believe that a mic is there. You see it, you feel it, you touch it, and if you hit your head against it, you will experience it. People don't experience their soul like that.
Right.
So whereas a mic has greater power to shift your experience and produce greater impact in you than me saying, let me tell you that you are a soul.
Okay.
Right? So I
Okay.
have to give you an experience of yourself as something other than your body.
Okay.
And everyone has it. The problem is they don't know it even when they have it. So the problem is not the ability to experience yourself as awareness. The problem is to distinguish awareness away from the conversation that happens with awareness.
Now you have to explain that a little bit more.
Let me explain it again. Let me explain it again. Look at your mic right now.
Okay.
Keep looking at it. I want you to keep looking at it. All right.
Okay.
You see something. Don't touch it. You see, you saw something upon it and you immediately reached for it.
I did.
All right. Now watch. Imagine that you are I have a 3-month-old granddaughter right now.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you're a 3-month-old child. Look at that mic now.
Okay.
Would you see Mike as a 3-month-old child? What would a 3-month-old child see?
Huh. Just something black, I guess.
Yes, some shape.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, you go earlier to a 1-month-old child, that child will see a blob. It won't be able to make the distinction of the boundary.
Right. Right.
Now, what happened between 1 month and 3 months was that that apparatus with which the child is aware of the blob in front of it became refined enough to produce a boundary of where the mic is
Mm-hmm.
and where the air outside the mic begins.
Makes sense.
Look again at the mic.
Okay.
And look at the boundary.
Right.
You don't, until I told you to look at the boundary was not real for you.
That makes sense.
You never noticed it. It was not that it wasn't present. I provided you a distinction by drawing your attention to that boundary.
Right. Right.
So therefore, what you live and experience is entirely a product of your attention, where your attention goes, right?
Is that how you work with people in
Yes.
hospice?
So let's keep working with me now, because when we work together, your audience gets to see this. I'm assuming that they're seeing a video of this.
Yes. Yes.
All right.
Absolutely.
So if you keep, now, I'm not doing this with you because you need it. I'm doing this with you because your audience needs this. So when you look at that boundary,
Mm-hmm.
when I tell you to look at that boundary got created at that instant. Why? Because for you, that boundary was not available to you as a reality until your attention went to it. So bottom line, it was your awareness and your attention that creates the world you live in.
Okay. Okay.
So think of yourself as a dying person. What you pay attention to is what becomes real for you, right?
Yes. Yes.
Imagine if I start teaching you to pay attention to the tides of your breath. And then I start telling you to pay attention to your attention on the tides of your breath. Look back at that boundary. Pay attention to it. Now, while you're paying attention to it, start noticing the person who is actually paying attention to it. The awareness, the sense of being aware of that boundary. Yes?
Yes.
That sense of being aware of the boundary is who you are.
Yes. Yes.
That sense of being aware of that boundary is who you are. And that sense is not your body.
Yes.
Now you experience soul.
Kind of the driver of the body, if you will.
Now, this moment, in this instant, you experience soul. Imagine experiencing soul like this versus somebody coming and saying, you are soul. Now you understand what spirit is.
I do. I do.
Now start expanding on that further. Walk through life, you meet a person and you look at that person and you experience that person. And while you're experiencing, keep practicing being aware of yourself as a space within which that person exists. Because that boundary that you just saw, that mic, exists in the space of your awareness. So your entire world exists within the space of your awareness.
The entire world exists in the space of my awareness. That makes sense.
Everybody, every human being, every rock, grain of sand, tree, flower, bird in the sky, planet, starlight, sun, moon, everything exists within the space of your awareness.
That makes sense.
Now, knowing yourself as space of awareness, what part of this universe that is contained within the space of your awareness can you not influence?
Yeah.
Now, in the space of your awareness that contains the entire universe that appears in it, why do you say you don't have time to accomplish anything?
Yeah.
You don't have time only when you are inattentive. When you are attentive, time becomes infinite and you have all the time in the world.
Go into that a little bit more. Let's dig into that.
What is that?
Let's dig into that a little bit more in terms of having all the time in the world. I mean, you know how it is. We're running around. We've always got things to do, 8 hours a day, and never have enough time to get things done.
Let's talk about how we live time.
Yes.
Forget about time. Let's go back a little bit to see how time gets created for us. Something happens, we experience it, and we store it in memory. So I want you, are you sitting or standing?
I'm standing.
Standing. Okay. You feel the floor?
Yes.
I want you to focus on the touch of your feet on the floor. Pay attention only to that. Don't look down. Pay attention only to that this moment. Now, and now, and now. Keep doing that. Now tell me, describe how it felt when you felt the floor now.
From what perspective? Are we...
Whatever you felt, whether you felt pressure, you felt flatness, you felt roughness, whatever.
Yeah,
now, what did you feel?
I feel it's a plastic floor. It's
so the question is, did you feel it now?
I do. Yeah.
By the time you said it, it became
yes.
You cannot feel now ever. Every time you experience something, it vanishes in the experiencing itself.
Yes.
So what you call time is nothing except the record of what you once felt. All right. What you call time, the beginning of time is always then. It is never now. Now let's talk about tomorrow.
That's going to be my next question.
What you say as tomorrow is nothing but what you expect things to happen. So all your plans and dreams and wishes and desires are then. So you have now and you have then in the past, and then you have now and you have then in the future. You are trying to keep bouncing between then and then.
Yes. Yes. I see what you mean.
So time is a mental creation, right?
Yeah.
It really doesn't exist. So what if you suddenly realize that time for doing a task, when you say, I don't have time, it is a projection of somebody gave you a task and you made an assessment. I need to have this to happen, this to happen, this to happen, this to happen. I have XYZ resources to make the first thing happen, and I have only limited resources to make this next thing happen. But you really don't know whether when you make the first thing happen, whether the next thing will be important enough to do anyway. So you are just running around concocting a plan which will get changed even as you do it. But instead, if somebody says, you got to do something, all you say is, okay. And you begin doing the first part. paying attention to just that.
Mm-hmm.
And let that first part tell you what the second part is. And let the second part tell you what the third part is. And the second part will tell you what the third part is only when you finish the second part.
Yeah.
And in this way, you will move mountains and climb and walk millions of miles without even any effort or any fear of running out of time. Because time really never existed in the first place. All that ever existed was now, 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 now.
So you're not creating any expectations at all. You're just
Exactly. You don't create any expectation, but you can't do it until you are grounded in perfect attention. That is why I said pay attention. Develop the ability to pay attention to the boundaries, the attention to the person paying attention, pay
Mhm.
attention to awareness, and then start visualizing yourself as a space within which things start happening, and then just keep happening. It is ridiculously so. Here's the problem. People think that leadership and business management and all of that pull has to be different than the preacher on the pulpit. The truth is, there is no preacher on the pulpit and there is no corporate titan either. They're just human beings. And the being of human beings has the same problems. How do you make life work when it doesn't work? And this is not today's problem. It was the caveman's problem. It was the problem of the people at Buddha's time, at Confucius' time. It was the problem of the people in Jesus' time and every prophet before and after. It doesn't matter. This has been going on for millions of years. The problem of how do you navigate life when you are given a body that has a mechanism that will convert every impression into a story just so that you can remember it and plan so that life doesn't surprise you.
So how do we navigate that then? We take into consideration what we've learned, what we've experienced, and we think about, obviously the things that we have to do or the things that we want to do.
The world of concepts is necessary, but it is not. The problem is human beings have two ways of knowing the world. One is the experience through your five senses, which is nothing more than the interaction of molecules with your five senses. Photons striking your eye,
Mm-hmm.
giving you light, color, and form. Air molecules vibrating and hitting your eardrum, giving you sound. Molecules drifting up your nose, giving you smell. Molecules falling on your tongue, giving you taste. Molecules hitting your skin, giving you touch. So the entire world that you experience is nothing more than impact, molecular impacts against the organs of your perception.
Mm-hmm.
A bumblebee experiences a different world than you. Why? Because its organs of perception are different. Its eyes can see ultraviolet and infrared light. A pit viper sees the world as infrared light. An earthworm feels the world. Each one has a completely different world. All right. Now, this experience that you have with the instrument that you call your body, that instrument takes this experience and converts it into name, form, meaning, interpretation, value. It puts a value. The value is based on whether the experience was pleasurable or painful. And then out of the value, it puts these experiences as a hierarchy. And it creates a mental model of the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And it files that mental model in memory. And the next time something similar happens, the body does not even look at the experience. It pulls out the mental model. So I know what it is.
Yeah.
So the mental model is like a menu, and the experience is like the meal on the restaurant table of your life. And people are going through life eating the menu instead of eating the meal. And that's the reason why husbands and wife fall out of love, because they have when they met, they had this beautiful experience of being alive and interacting and conscious of each other.
Mm-hmm.
And along the way, each interaction, each now that they had with each other, they create a little menu. Another now, another menu, another now, another menu. And then they meet in the bedroom and they have this wonderful interaction with each other that explodes their sense of their own being and self, and they feel this enormous connectivity, and they make another menu. And they say, when the temperature was 68 degrees and we had a waterbed and a satin sheet, we had this explosive experience. And therefore, that becomes a menu. And then they start creating their experience, trying to set up another waterbed, another satin sheet, another temperature that is 68 degrees, and find they can't create the meal.
Yeah.
They are cooking their life on a painted flame. You can't cook your meal on a painted flame.
Yeah.
So then, you know what they do? They say, we need to spice up our life. We need to go on a vacation. So then they go to Bora Bora, to Tahiti, to, Phuket in Thailand. And suddenly they go to a place where they don't have a prior experience and therefore no prior menus.
Mm-hmm.
And they again experience life without the filter of their menus. And they say, wow, we rediscovered our love for each other.
Mm-hmm.
People do that with vacations too. But then they make the fatal error. Every time we become bored, let's go on a vacation.
Yeah.
And the travel industry is waiting to teach everyone that that's the way you need to live. It's a lot of bullshit. You can do it in your backyard. You just need to be alive to the experience and be able to put your menus aside. You need a menu. You need mental constructs. Right now, are you in a room with a door?
Yes.
Okay. If you did not have a mental construct that there's a door and there's a doorknob like a small 1-year-old child, you would not know how to get out of the room.
This is true.
In my practice, I have patients with Alzheimer's. You know about Alzheimer's, right?
Yes, sir.
People who, because they lose neuronal structures in their brain, they can no longer create mental constructs. They can't create the mental models to navigate the world. And they wander out of their retirement community into the community, and they can't work the mental map to find their way back home. And they wander lost until some policeman finds them and shows them the way home, right? So mental models are important as a tool to serve us, to enrich our experience of life, not shield us from it, not imprison us. But they will imprison you if you do not know how to separate experience and my mental model. A monk, when I was 22 years old, my father took me to a monastery, and a monk taught me this. He asked me that, did you have a good bowel movement today? He asked me. And I said, yes, no problem. I had a good bowel movement. He said, okay. After you emitted your excreta, were you really interested or concerned about it after you emitted it? I said, no. I was wondering where the conversation was going. But so I know I just washed myself and, flushed it and walked out. So he said, you ate food yesterday, didn't you? Yeah. Well, your body, your digestive system took the food that you gave it yesterday and it converted it automatically without your will. You could not even stop it. It converted it into useful products for your body, blood, bone, tissue, whatever, and also to excreta. The entire process is an automatic function of the machine that your body is for only one purpose, the survival of the body.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
If your gut was prevented from making blood or bone, you would fall diseased. If your gut was prevented from absorbing, you would get diseased. If your gut was prevented from ejecting the excreta, you would get disease. Like that is that your brain receives the input from your 5 senses and converts it into this name, form, objects. It creates expectations and dreams and hopes and fears and plans and strategies and all the things that you do.
Mm-hmm.
For only one thing, the survival of your body, the survival of your existence, to fulfill whatever work was given to you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Then he said, you are playing in shit and stinking up your life. Who you are is the experience, the space within which all of this occurs. So once you begin to develop the ability to distinguish experience from meaning, because we all are this meaning-making machine. You can't change it. You can't stop it. But you can get to a state, you can get to a level of mastery where you can experience and you can treat the meaning-making machine like as if it is street noise.
Yeah.
Like you're sitting in this room and outside is an open window and there is a passerby, there's a ice cream truck going, ringing its bell and saying, "Oh, I got this wonderful ice cream." And then there is a drunk going, yelling curses. There's a madman going. There's somebody else going. And you can sit in this room and decide whether you want to pop your head out and interact with that street noise, or just let the street noise go, knowing that the world in which you occupy has a mechanism that generates street noise. And it is up to you to decide whether that street noise is going to become a meaningful part of your life or not. Like that, the meaning making machine that you are is the street noise that your world, that is your body, creates for the business of its operation. And you are a principle of awareness that can either sit back and own the street noise as an owner or be owned by it. 99.99% of the world is owned by it.
So what I'm hearing is that if we live in the present, we are able to face it with a bit of curiosity because we're not using our mental models, and then perhaps adding to branches to the mental models.
Yeah,
Is that where we're getting at?
exactly. So the word living in the present is again a cliche concept because people are using that word without knowing how to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Living in the present is nothing but being aware of the awareness of you, being aware of the objects in your life. So it's like somebody saying, if you go to the gym and lift 20 pounds every day, but never going to the gym and never lifting the weight.
Say that again.
It's like somebody going and saying, I can become a muscular if I go to the gym, when I go to the gym and lift 20 pounds every day, but he never goes to the gym and never lifts the weight. So people go around saying, "Oh, be present, be present, be present," but they never are present.
So they have the knowledge of it, but then not the execution.
Because they are using words as a substitute for true action.
Yeah. Yeah. So if someone wanted to make that shift, how does one go about that? How does one go
Very
about,
simple. I just
kind of
made you do it.
stepping
You could
back?
actually do it right now with your mic, and you just take it on to every object in your life.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what the Zen monks do. They don't go to a special laboratory. The whole world is their laboratory. Everything teaches you to be present.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And the only ingredient or only instrument you need to be present is you being awake
Mm-hmm.
and intentional
Mm-hmm.
about the act of observation. Start observing things before, and the meaning will come up. But don't hold on to the meaning. Keep going back to the observation. And the best way to do it is to pick up some activity that has no meaning, like watching your breath, like the Japanese tea ceremony, like painting, or playing a violin piece, or some artwork, calligraphy. No real meaning or purpose beyond just the action itself. And in this way, you exercise your mental muscle of cultivating the ability to be aware of observation. I'm going to give you an example that brings home the power of that. Michael Jordan, he plays basketball. Everyone looks at it as legendary. When Michael Jordan is on the court playing basketball, the basketball disappears for him. It becomes transparent. He just moves. And his hand moves, and there's a ball, and it moves. He's not aware of you. When you and I are on the court, I am all about ball. Oh, I got to hold the ball. I got to hit this way, right? Being present means becoming a space where action happens. Andre Agassi, when Sinner plays tennis, and they are playing the ball and the racket is going, and the ball and the racket become transparent for them. All they experience is movement in response, and it's so fluid. But for you and me sitting at the court side in the stands watching them, the ball is present, the racket is present, and the player is present, the boundary lines are present, the net is present, the umpire is present, the little ball runners running back and forth, they're all present.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And for us sitting on the stands, we are having a completely different conversation about the game than what Sinner is having about the game.
It's about focus, and presence. That makes sense. That makes sense.
So great players of their game, doesn't matter what game it is, don't ever experience themselves as playing the game. They experience the game being played through them. So skill and mastery is in becoming a space where you do not obstruct the flow of the play of the game. When I am in front of a patient, I am not aware of myself.
Right.
Only the patient exists. I am a space within which the patient and his disease unravel and unveil themselves, reveal themselves. And then I can then decide what my course of action is. I don't ever decide until that unraveling and unveiling happens. I don't walk into the room already made up my mind what the patient is having.
Mm-hmm.
I let the patient reveal himself.
So you're letting the story write itself instead of
Yeah.
planning the story.
So in this sense, this is nothing different than anything. Like people ask me all the time, how come a doctor can be this coach and leadership? You know what? There's no better leader than a doctor. Because we, as a tribe, we are trained to lead exactly when life doesn't work. We're in the midst of breakdowns. Nobody comes to a doctor with their life working.
That's true.
They come to me because their life is breaking down.
That is true. That is true. That is true. Wow. This has been fantastic. Do me a favor. We're just out of time. In our audience, as you know, are founders, entrepreneurs. What words of wisdom could you give us?
I mean, regarding what?
About existing. I mean, we do, we're doing leadership, as you mentioned before, and things are happening like every day, and we're stressing about, what's going to happen tomorrow, next week, next month. We've got these mental models of things that happen that we don't want to reoccur. I mean, what do you recommend? What is the best way for us to learn to navigate life?
So there is concept and then there's structure and existence. The first thing so let's take the life of a business. In that life of a business, there is the concept of being a space where things happen. But just being that will not automatically let things happen. You need to put in place certain structures where you actually create the events, create the environment for things to evolve and happen, and you just get out of the way. So these little constructs are important as mechanisms for allowing for excellence. One of the mechanisms is you start with, I break my life down into areas of, I have it written down actually. Let me pull that out. I have it as what are the things that I do in my personal space. So I begin with something very simple, my calendar, and I start rating it. Is my calendar something that is full of items to be done, but I keep consistently missing them, or I keep running things across lines?
Mhm.
So I rate it on a scale of 1 to 5 and say, okay, the calendar is 1 is if somebody says, what calendar? And that's a 1. And the other is a calendar that is fully done. I have a little AI agent that is popping into my phone, reminding me on target, keeping me on target, and also telling me when I'm putting in things that are conflicting. So that's a 5.
Mhm.
If I'm on a 1, then I start moving my status towards a 5.
Mhm. Mhm.
All right. Second, when I get up in the morning, my physical space, how's my desk? Is it messy? If it is not, if it is messy, then that's a 1. If it's perfectly organized, I know everything is clean, there's not a piece of that's a 5. So if it's not a 1, then I go make it move. If it's not a 5, then I make it go to a 5.
Mhm.
I do that for my desk at work. I do that for my sink in my bathroom. After I finish, I make sure that my bathroom is clean, that the sink is clean. I do that not just for the sink in my house. I do that for every sink I ever use, even in a restaurant. I'll clean the sink. I do that not because I'm interested in cleaning the restaurant sink. Act of cleaning the sink after I use it is cleaning my act up in my life about whatever mess I make. It's a discipline for myself. I'm not giving my being in that restaurant's restroom is a gift to that restaurant owner. Now you start seeing how you start building on this. You see how your life will begin to work, not only for yourself, but for people around you, and for your company is nothing more than a bunch of people working around you. Then you go to your email. You go to every email that you actually use. There are some emails that I have as what I call honeypot email. All my junk mail comes there. But forget that. But any email that you actually use, how many unread messages are there? How many unattended messages, undeleted messages? So you start cleaning up again 1 to 5. The same applies to my texts. I rate them 1 to 5 on the speed with which I respond to a text. Now, mind you, people say, sometimes I'm busy in the meeting, I can't respond. Well, I have a response that says, I will call you back. It's auto. It goes. That's a response. That means you took care of something. See, people talk about actions and they think that only the most complete, perfect action matters. No, the fact that you took notice of that action and took an action on that action, which told the other person that you have noticed and acknowledged it, is sufficient to complete that other person. Because every action, like when you emailed me, right, today, did you get a response from me?
I did.
How many of your guests gave a response to you to those emails?
It's a good question. Not all of them.
Not all of them. And I can assure you that they were not being mean. They were not being rude. They didn't even think about it.
Right.
They didn't think that was necessary. But when you got that response, how did that response that you got from me, that I am looking forward to 5 o'clock and I'll be there on time, when you got it, did that make your day go better right at that moment?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Being acknowledged, absolutely.
You knew that this meeting is going to happen, that your time is not going to get wasted, and you're not going to have a no-show.
Yeah. Yes.
Your blood pressure went down. You breathed easier. Life lighted up a little.
Yes, absolutely.
Why do you think that is not a business decision? Why do people think? What is business made up of?
People.
People think that business is made up of dollars and cents in the bank. Bullshit. It is made up of transactions that begin with an acknowledgement of people keeping their word. And how do people keep their word? By cleaning up as they do it. Because here's another thing. People have problem giving their word to anything because they know that life is unpredictable and can mess up their word and make a liar out of them. But they don't realize that keeping the word is not always about fulfilling your word. It is about honoring your word. That means that when life messes up your word, all you do is you call the people who are impacted by your not keeping the word and say, I did not keep it. I never give a reason. I just say I did not keep it. And you begin and say, what are the upsets in your life that I caused? How can I fix those upsets?
Yeah.
And then you say that I am going to keep my word now in this manner. And then you go ahead and keep that word. That's it. In my clinic, nobody is ever late. You know how people are late? Because they think that being late with a cause for being late is somehow better than being late without a cause. Being late is late. My business did not somehow become better because you were late because you were behind a school bus.
Right.
Or you were late just because you slept. It doesn't matter. You were late. I don't want to know why you were late. I'm not interested in why you're late. You're late. Let's clean up and let's move on and don't be late.
I like it.
So this kind of thing takes out all the crap in conversations. And all this crap has a lot of weight and a lot of cost to businesses. It is the unspoken, hidden friction that slows the wheel of the enterprise. It is an unknown overhead, unrealized overhead. Just like you were not aware that your attention is what makes reality to the mic in front of you.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. Well, thank you so much. This has been really insightful. I've got a lot to think about. I'm going to definitely play this back, and I can't wait to share it with some folks. I think they're going to really enjoy it. And thank you so much for being on the show. I really enjoyed it. Again, I'm going to check out your TED Talks. I know that you've got a few of them out there that are going to move some minds as well. And when we put, we'll actually put those on your show notes page. So when we publish your episode, everybody can check those out as well. So again, thank you so much for being on the show. And folks, thank you so much for watching or listening to another episode of the Relentless Pursuit of Winning podcast. We'll catch you next time.